service of CNC Worldwide.
The Daily is a service of CNC and Jib Jab Greetings. I'm Bud Lowell. Your full AccuWeather forecast is always on top of your CNC local page. Don't expect any more record warm March temperatures this week. The National Weather Service says freezing temperatures are returning to western New York. According to the Buffalo office, Mother Nature has reversed course and it's back to winter for the Rochester area. A much colder air mass moved into the region late Sunday night. That cold front sets up a serious situation for area fruit farms because the warm spell of the past 2 weeks has prompted plants and trees, especially fruit trees, to bloom well ahead of schedule across western New York. Many of these plants are very susceptible to a freeze, and it looks like a damaging freeze is coming for Monday night. The ingredients include light winds and a cold air mass that will allow temperatures to drop into the 20s Monday night across most of the Rochester region. The Weather Service says anyone with agricultural interests needs to take precautions to protect sensitive plants from the cold, move them inside, or cover up the plants. A pollution watchdog group says industrial facilities dumped more than 5.7 million pounds of toxic chemicals into New York's waterways in 2010, making the Genesee River among the 40 worst in the nation for industrial discharges. Environment New York compiles this list every year from the Toxics Release Inventory reports filed by industries to the Environmental Protection Agency. Reports for 2010 are the most recent data available. Environment New York's director, David Van Leuven, said more than 1.6 million pounds of toxic discharge went into the Hudson River alone. The report says a little less than 1.4 million pounds of industrial discharge went into the Genesee and 1.3 million into the Seneca River. The Environment New York report ranks them as the 32nd and 33rd worst in America. To put some perspective on this report, most of the pollutants that go into the Genesee River don't actually come from industrial plants. They're from what's called non-point source pollution. That's mainly runoff from farms, roads, parking lots, and your yard, anything that goes down a storm drain. Besides farm fertilizers and silt runoff, major components of stormwater runoff are pesticides, pet waste, detergents, grass clippings, and automotive fluids. The Army Corps of Engineers Action Plan for the Genesee sets its primary goal as cutting back on agricultural runoff into tributaries and the Genesee itself. The Water Education Collaborative, which includes the Center for Environmental Information and the Sierra Club of Rochester, says key defenses are to fertilize and treat lawns sparingly and not let car wash detergents or used oil get into storm drains. For another contrast, New York's 5.7 million pounds of toxic discharge compares with more than 27 million for Indiana, which tops the list of polluters by state in the Environment New York report. No New York waterways make it into the top 20 most polluted. The Ohio River is number 1. The major source of industrial discharge into the Genesee has historically been Eastman Kodak Company, but those discharges have declined hand in hand with the decline of film manufacturing, and also as Kodak implemented tougher environmental standards over the last decade. All the same, chemicals reported by Environment New York include arsenic, mercury, and benzene. Exposure to these is linked to cancer, developmental disorders, and reproductive problems. And once released into waterways, there are many pathways for toxic chemicals to impact human health, the food chain and drinking water being two of the main ones. Environment New York is calling for industries to abandon production methods that use hazardous chemicals and develop safer alternatives. They want a tougher federal Clean Water Act, and they want to progressively phase out toxic discharge permits. The average gasoline price in the Rochester area is still hovering just below $4 per gallon, which is lower than the statewide average. The statewide average price was $4.02 per gallon Sunday, up a penny from a week ago, and up from $3.91 a month ago. The current national average is $3.89. The Rochester average, $3.98. Compare that with $3.95 a week ago and $3.84 a month ago. There are links to the left of this window for more information on these and other stories. Next news as it happens on CNC, with updates when necessary. I'm Bud Lowell, CNC Worldwide News.